Last night, we saw the Washington Commanders. It's going to take me forever to not say Washington Redskins. Washington Commanders beat the Chicago Bears 12-7. Carson Wentz, 99 total yards for the Commanders. Justin Fields, not a lot better, 14-27, 190 yards. The Bears on the ground looked good, and Fields was their leading rusher with 88 yards. Ryan Robinson, your boy, man, we saw him get his first touchdown, which obviously great to see the comeback he's had. But again, another Thursday night football game that is just an utter disappointment. Amazon and Jeff Bezos really have to be just punching the air with what we've seen from these Thursday night football matchups so far.
And quite honestly, I don't know what they were thinking with this particular matchup for whoever scheduled this game, because it's not like, the Broncos and whoever they played last week.
Colts.
Broncos and Colts, they were two highly anticipated teams to actually go in and compete. Like the Broncos were favored by some to be a Super Bowl contender.
I wonder who some is.
That would be Jacob.
That would be me.
And then the Colts were deemed to win their division by some.
Both of us.
I said Tennessee.
Either way.
Anyway,
I get it.
So that was, a completely different scenario. That just kind of blew up in their faces. This one, what were they thinking scheduling this
I know
one?
they like
the Bears, like, okay, yeah, they're a national TV person, or national TV team, but I mean, they just haven't been good. Keep them on as little as possible. It's painful to watch at times. And then out of all the teams to put them against, the Commanders, like at least make it the Green Bay game. Like make that a prime time.
Well, I think what they're trying to do, and we've seen most years, they try to get every single team on a Thursday night game. They don't give literally every team a Thursday night game, but for the most part, every team plays a Thursday night game, and it's just not been good. We saw, we put out the video last week, the worst game of all time. This game wasn't much better. And for both these teams, I don't see a promising future. And by future, I mean next 2 to 3 years. Any NFL team can change the course of their team in an offseason or two. So there's no more 5-year rebuilds in the NFL because we've seen teams turn it over overnight and be competitive. The Washington Commanders, the Chicago Bears, I don't see them being competitive, obviously, this year. I don't see them being competitive next year, and it could go on beyond that because we've never seen these teams really in our lifetimes be serious contenders. We saw, of course, the Bears make the Super Bowl, what was it, 2006, losing to the Colts. But both these teams, something that I said about the Steelers, both these teams have focused on defense. Look at all the first-round picks on the Washington Commanders' defensive line. Look at the Chicago Bears. They trade up last offseason to go get Justin Fields. This offseason, what they do, they drafted heavy on the defensive side of things. I like Roquan Smith a lot. I would consider moving him if it means bring in an offensive piece. You see how bad that offensive line is. You see how bad that receiving core is. If you want to give Justin Fields, if you want to give him the idea that he can be a good quarterback one day, because right now they're destroying his confidence. He's throwing to bad wide receivers. He's not trusting those receivers to make catches. He's not trusting his ability in the pocket because it always collapses on top of him.
And he's not anticipating his throws.
And all that, I think, ties together. I think Fields didn't have to anticipate as much in college. Him and Tua are kind of similar situations. Tua last year to him this year. You're not seeing anticipation. You're seeing him hold on to the ball too long. And Justin Fields, if not for his athleticism, would be a very bad quarterback so far this year. 28.3 QBR, 28-3. That number just always seems to stick around, doesn't it? But the Bears did nothing this offseason to support Justin Fields. Miami Dolphins gave Tua a plethora of offensive weapons, gave him a better offensive line, gave him an offensive-minded coach. The Bears did literally nothing. Oh, great. They brought in Equiminius St. Brown. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot about him. They did nothing to support him. And this is what you get. You get a team that can't move the ball downfield. When they do move the ball downfield, when they got to the red zone, they're 0 for 3 in the red zone last night. This team's not going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with you there. So with the Bears, remember during the preseason, the Bears fans were flooding Twitter begging for Preston Williams.
Yeah. Where is he? Where even is he now?
He's on a practice squad, I believe, in Carolina. So
sounds about right.
I mean, he's good enough to be on the field. It's really just an attitude issue with him. Different subject, but
I'd argue that second part too.
uh, anyway,
He is on the Panthers.
so okay, I thought so, but anyways, just like they have no receivers, and the Bears fans know it. Know it. Andrew knows it. Our lovely friend who happens to be a Bears fan. Unfortunately for him.
If only their mascot wasn't a bear, he wouldn't have picked the Bears as his team as a little kid.
You know what? You live and you die with
your teams.
With
Yes,
your
we
teams.
do. Yes, we do.
Yeah, well, as we well know, at least they made a Super Bowl in his lifetime.
Yeah, they did do that. He was also like 8 years old, so he didn't really get to truly appreciate it.
You know what? I was 4 when the Angels won the World Series, so I'll take what I can get. Anyways, like as far as the Commanders though, I think they have a potential good future with a possible change at head coach
and quarterback.
And quarterback, but that comes with a new head coach. So we know all the talent that they have on defense. Now, who is a good head coaching candidate that is good with defenses?
I'm not sure if you're thinking I'm saying anything, so I'm just going to let you roll it out.
Brian Flores. Now, we all know he ran the Dolphins offense into the ground.
He did.
That is not without a shadow of a doubt. But we know that it's with the weapons that they have, that's almost impossible to screw up. All you need is a quarterback. And you know what? He wanted Deshaun Watson in Miami. And Herbert. And you know what? He didn't get his guy. Maybe he gets his guy if he goes to Washington, but he can 100% fix that defense.
Yeah, so they do have the personnel. Chase Young is still dealing with his injury, so obviously,
has he returned yet?
No.
I was gonna say
they showed him on the sidelines last night. No, his recovery he had a midseason ACL injury, so the timetable is kind of wonky as to when he's supposed to return. He's had some setbacks with that.
He was projected to come back the same time as V-Rob.
Yeah, and we still have seen him walking on the sidelines fine, but we know.
But
it's more than just walking.
I would say what was encouraging, if you're a Commanders fan, is the fact that Brian Robinson. Now, given it is against an awful run defense from the Bears, who I think were the second worst or third worst run defense in the league so far this year, but his vision and burst looked really good for only his second game back.
We're getting shot in the leg too.
2 times.
Yeah.
2 times in the leg. And that was 2 months ago. Less than 2 months. It was August 28th when he got shot. So we're talking 6 weeks. 6 weeks ago, he was shot. And he's on the football field, leading them in snaps on running back, leading them in touches, leading them in yards, and he scored a vital touchdown for them to take the lead. And
yeah, they have pieces, they have talents, but I don't share the same optimism. Saying that you're a quarterback and a coach away means you're far away. That is the 2 hardest things in the NFL to get right. Look at how many teams in the NFL right now are just desperately searching for a quarterback. Look what the Colts have done over the last since Andrew Luck retired. What they've been trying to do at the quarterback position. The Commanders, all they've done since they let Kirk Cousins walk. There's these teams, and Panthers too. There's these teams that are in a cycle of trying to find a quarterback that just can't happen. That just can't get it done. We see the Jets think they have their guy in Zach Wilson, who looked decent against the Dolphins. We'll see how he pans out. We see the Bears now have Justin Fields. It's a really shrug your shoulders. Is he going to develop with the talent he has? He has a cannon of an arm, great athletic ability, 88 yards on the ground yesterday. Accuracy issues, anticipation issues, we'll see with him. There's so many teams that would kill for even just a Kirk Cousins right now. So to say you're a quarterback away and then getting the coach right. I mean, when Matt Rule was hired by the Panthers, everyone was crowning him a genius because of what he did to the Baylor football program, and rightfully so at the time. The Cardinals with Cliff Kingsbury seemed, again, like an offensive genius, even though he didn't necessarily have the winning numbers.
I actually didn't like that hire.
I
was one of the few.
Patrick Mahomes helped him out a lot to be able to get his job. There's such big doubts, and honestly, I don't believe in Ron Rivera, but he's gotten to a Super Bowl before. It's so hard to get the coach and the quarterback right in this league as the Commanders. And then you're sitting in a division where two of the teams definitely have their head coach, being the Eagles and the Giants. Two of the teams, I want to say, definitely have their quarterback, the Cowboys and the Eagles. The Cowboys, whether they like it or not, they have their quarterback because Dak is signed to a long, lengthy, expensive extension. So all three of those teams at least have one of the coach and the quarterback. The Eagles appear to have both with Hurts and Sirianni. Commanders have neither. They have good weapons. I'll give them that. Offensive line is abysmal, and they have a good defense. They have pieces to build around. I don't share your optimism. They're in a division that's getting increasingly better. The NFC, it's been kind of weak to start off the season, but the NFC in recent years has been known as the stronger conference. Up until recently, they have been. The AFC kind of took over with Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes rising to the top. I don't think Commanders really have a bright future 2-3 years ahead of the road. And again, with the Bears, until they start giving Justin Fields support, this is what you're going to get out of the Bears. You're going to get 7 points with the Commanders. Until you get the quarterback and the head coach right, you're going to get 12 points.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you there. It is going to be hard to find a head coach, but we all know the reason that Brian Flores wasn't hired was, because of his lawsuit.
Yeah.
And so if they do go out and get Brian Flores, which it's really a tough situation because you also have Dan Snyder, who's just not a good he's just not a good owner.
Plus, if I were them, I wouldn't want to go back to the defensive side of the ball for your head coach. With Ron Rivera, he's a defensive guy, and I think Ron Rivera would be an excellent defensive coordinator for the rest of his career. I don't think he's built to be a head coach right now. But if I'm them, I'm calling up their division rival, Kellen Moore from the Cowboys. What he's done with Cooper Rush, with Dak going down, I think is a great mark on his resume for a head coaching gig. We know how close he was to getting the Dolphins job. He interviewed, I believe, with one or two other teams this offseason. You need offense. This is an offensive league. I criticized the Bears. I had a conversation with Andrew right before the season started. I was talking with Andrew, and I was not a fan of the hire by the Bears. What's the guy's name?
Eberflus.
Matt Eberflus.
Yeah, he was the offensive coordinator.
He's a defensive coordinator for the Colts, and he was a great coordinator, fantastic coordinator. The Colts defense was great. Yeah, he was the defensive coordinator of the Colts.
Oh, Hackett was the offensive coordinator.
Yeah, the Packers.
For the Packers. Okay.
Eberflus was a great defensive coordinator for the Colts. They had a well-structured defense, and it was one of the best aspects of their team. And their defense has dropped off a bit since it's actually been pretty decent since he's left. But my big thing is, I would rather get the offensive-minded head coach and a great defensive coordinator, because if you have the other way around, great defensive coach and an good offensive coordinator, he's gone in a year.
Yeah,
he's gone in a year. And Andrew was saying the other way around, like the defensive structure guy on the offense to get it right. Well, that offensive guy isn't going to stay around. And then you're constantly turning over an offensive coordinator. The game is now dominated by the offensive side of the ball. Get that offensive guy, and then you get the defensive coordinator. We see with Josh Boyer. Now the Dolphins' defense hasn't been good this year, but in recent years, it's been a top 10 defense. Josh Boyer's not going anywhere. He's not getting any head coaching calls. And if he did, it was just kind of like just a little conversation and see what you got there, but probably not going to happen.
Yeah, no.
He's going to be there for as long as we want him to be there. But if it was the other way around, he was the head coach and McDaniel was the OC, he's getting a head coaching job next offseason. So I don't like how the Bears did that, going out and getting Eberflus, because the offense sucks, and you're trying to get the quarterback right, trying to make his job easier. So the weapons stink, the system stinks, the offensive line stinks, and I don't see a promising future for Justin Fields and the Bears.
Yeah, that's just a terrible team.
It's a terrible team.
Terrible team.
It's
terrible
two terrible
stadium.
Teams.
It's just it's god awful.
Two terrible teams, two terrible stadiums,
and then the only person on defense, like he's a defensive guy, and the only person on defense that was doing anything was Roquan Smith.
Yeah,
you're talking about a guy that you don't even want to pay him.
Yeah,
like there was this whole thing this offseason where he actually requested a trade. He ended up rescinding the trade because you know what, he's a good guy. I'm not sure if I'm a fan of it. Like if you're giving your team your all and they're not trying to reward you, especially when you're the only player doing anything. Like if it wasn't for Roquan Smith, I told you before, if it wasn't for him, then Brian Robinson And that whole running game of Washington just goes off for probably over 100 yards for Robinson himself and probably over 200 yards total as a team.
Yeah, absolutely. And it just well again another bad game yesterday. A set of two bad teams.